excitement, but there are limits to excitement.
Well, that probably doesn't fit for you.
Also remember, press the button on the microphone if you have a question to ask. You're ready.
Oh, okay.
All right, we are
Let me
recording.
go a little so I can. Yes.
All right, ready to record.
Welcome to Security Seminar at Purdue University. It's our pleasure to have Ms. Jill Frisby as our guest speaker today. Jill is a manager in the risk consulting practice with Crowe, Chizek and Company. Her specialties are in the area of information security and data privacy. She had an extensive experience in helping major companies and government organizations in safeguarding computer information. Outcomes of Jill's research and her methodologies have appeared in accounting and finance-related publications. And we are here today for a talk on protecting data privacy, a practical guide to managing risk. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Jill Frisby.
Thank you. Like I was introduced, my name is Jill Frisby, and I'm a manager with Crowe Chizek. For those of you who aren't familiar with Crowe, it's the 8th largest consulting and accounting firm in the country, and one of our specialties is information security. We help companies with all facets of information security, from ethical hacking to consulting projects, etc. And one of the projects that's been in high demand lately has been data privacy. Companies need to understand what they have, where they have it, and how to protect it. And so we've been doing a lot of research and discussions on protecting data, identifying data, etc. And what I'm going to be talking to you about today is how to make data privacy practical. So everybody knows, if you think of a company, they have data everywhere. They use it for a variety of different purposes, and it becomes a very overwhelming task. Corporate America and corporate executives are really challenged with the prospect of protecting the data that they use and transmit. And so today, we're going to talk about how we help companies make that practical. So we're going to talk about the goal of some of the exercises that we do with companies and the goal of data privacy programs. We'll look at the current landscape of data privacy and discuss some of the different events in the past few years that have shaped the current landscape of data privacy. We'll be looking at common program pitfalls, so common things that cause issues as companies try to implement a data privacy program. We'll be looking at successful data privacy tips, so the types of things that successful companies do to protect private data. One of our approaches is the top-down privacy risk assessment, starting with the top of a company and working down through its various organizational units, and we'll be talking about that more today, as well as the roles and responsibilities in that top-down organization from executive management on down for data privacy. And then we'll be looking at the results of a risk assessment and the future steps for a data privacy program. So when companies come to us with data privacy problems, they've usually got a newspaper article in their hand of one of their competitors or somebody in their local market that's lost data. They've lost a laptop. They've lost a backup tape. Something has happened, and this corporate executive is worried. They don't know how it could impact them. They don't necessarily know what they want to do about it. They just want to know they don't want to be that company on the front page of the paper. We also deal with companies who are on the front page of the paper who unfortunately have had a data breach, have had to notify customers, and suddenly their board of directors, their shareholders are saying, do something about it. I don't know what to do, but you got to do something about this. We've got to figure out some way to better protect our data. And so companies come to us and say, how do we prevent this disclosure? Help us understand what the law requires us to do. Help us do something that's practical yet effective, keeps us out of the papers. They all want to do a risk assessment. They use this buzzword, we want to do a risk assessment to understand our data privacy risks. So they want to understand what they have and where they hold it, and then how they protect it. And we'll talk more about that today. they have a feeling that their staff doesn't understand data privacy, or that they don't understand data privacy, so they understand that they've got to protect data. They understand that they have sensitive data, but there's a gap there. And so they want to understand, how do we educate our organization on data privacy? They want to implement controls that are reasonable. So they don't want to see a downturn in business because of new systems or controls that they've had to implement. And then they want to mitigate the risks that we've talked about. Risks to their reputation, risks from their examiners, regulators, and the government, risks to litigation and lawsuit, and then financial risks, the costs of putting people on credit monitoring services, as well as the costs of sending a letter to 100,000 customers. This timeline just gives a high-level overview of kind of where we've come from. In 1995, we started to see a surge in identity theft. We started to see a surge in crimes related to impersonation of identity by improper disclosure of information. And from there, we started to see the different industry groups, the different government agencies spur up their requirements on protection of data. So we identified in the late 90s that this is a problem. People's information is being disclosed inappropriately, and it's leading to quite a bit of financial loss in the country for consumer fraud and other events. So we started to see increased visibility and awareness, rules like HIPAA, California Civil Code 1798, and GLBA. Then we started to see the first major breaches announced publicly. What I always say is, in the early 2000s, this was not the first time somebody lost a backup tape. In the history of computing, certainly someone before has lost a backup tape, or the Postal Service has lost a package with sensitive computer disks. But we started to see these events making the news. People became more aware of data breaches and what it means to lose a laptop, to lose a computer, to lose a tape, or to lose paper-based data. And then we started seeing increasing in state laws. So California led the way with state laws on pressures to notify. We started to see more states follow suit. Other agencies release similar standards. And now in 2007, almost daily we have a company that reports a breach of some kind. And because of that, we've seen a strong increase in the pressure for good federal legislation in the United States to universally protect the privacy of data. These are some examples that you may have heard about in the news, some of the famous examples of incidents that were turning points in data privacy. The Bank of America backup tape for the banking industry was really one of the events that made sparked an industry change in the protection of private data for the financial sector. And that's because after the Bank of America backup tape and the handling of the backup tape lost by Bank of America, the government regulators decided that all banks would have to disclose breaches in a timely fashion and have more robust incident response programs to handle those breaches. The Veterans Administration is a very widely publicized case of a government agency which seemingly had insufficient controls over its data about its veterans and presumably private citizens. You can see some other examples there. PrivacyRights.org is a great site. They keep a running list of any company that loses data, the magnitude, related articles. So I would encourage you to visit that site to get more information about recent data breaches. There are quite a few. So the landscape today. Customer notification is key. Ever since the 30 some odd state laws, the federal laws in certain industries like banking, we've seen incidents of customer breach the papers. And so the strongest push today is to keep your name out of the papers. The types of things that can keep you away from high-profile reputational damage. The Ponemon Institute did a study last fall of exactly how much it costs a company when they lose this data, and you can see the breakout here. They average $182 per customer record. If you're a company, even a small-sized company that has 10,000 consumer clients, or on up for the largest companies in the United States, you can see how this multiplies. Okay, so we've identified that this is a problem. Companies have identified this as an area where they want to improve their controls. They've identified that they want to be good corporate citizens in protecting data, and so they go out and they